All right, let's get started with this. Hello, everybody, again, and welcome to a wonderful week in the college success coaching world. I am Eric Allen, as always, and I am here to tell you all the things that I'm going to tell you. I mean, I can't just start with that. That's like ridiculous. You have to wait. There's a lot of things to say. We're going to talk about what the article of the week is, but first, we're going to talk about the mug of the week. It is Darth Vader's head, just his head. If it was the whole body, this mug would be gigantic, and that would just be terrifying. Oh, that's good. Had lots of comments about the Darth Vader head, good and weird. So, you guys never cease to amaze me. And I love it. So keep sending the comments. Let me know if you want it to be a shout out, if it's appropriate, not like some of you. I will be happy to put that out there in the middle of the presentation or after. It's fine. We'll go over the questions and answers again later. But let us begin with the article of the week. The article of the week this week, which I am going to post in here, is how to have your kid go to college but not go broke. So, high school students are now back to classes, resuming the quest for a college education and the good life beyond. But it seems too many of them are now mortgaging their futures to get there. At $1.4 trillion, student loans now represent the second largest pile of total household debt, topped only by actual mortgages, where you get a place to live. For parents hoping to provide their children with more bountiful lives than their own, that should be a warning. College is still a good income boosting strategy. Whew, thank God. All right, so I still am relevant. Okay, good. For example, a recent study of the University of Texas system found that 3 years after graduation, bachelor's degree holders earned almost twice as much as their high school graduate peers. But if you also have to make a large monthly loan payment for a decade, are you really getting ahead? Some measures say no. Really? Not your calculator? Talk to a financial planner. I mean, we're going to have that video that's coming out in the very near future with the expert Chris Pazienza, who's going to talk about your financial future. And talk to somebody like that and ask them, what is the calculation for how much I'm going to take in loans versus what my bump is going to be in my income? He knows. People like him know. So, it really, you don't need some measures to tell you no. If you're saddled with a $200,000 loan, you don't even have a house yet, and you're only making $45,000 a year out of college, you're not ahead for 10 years. But, okay, let's keep going. There is growing evidence that ballooning student loan debt is slowing the progress of college student graduates toward other features of the American dream: getting married, buying a car or a home, or even just moving out of their parents' place. Again, cost benefit, got that great degree, can't move out of my parents' house for 10 years. I don't know. Which one do you want? Part of the explanation for these trends is simply that there is less money left over after the monthly student loan payment is made, but home and auto purchases are also likely affected by the damaged credit ratings of those who get behind on student loan payments. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York estimates that, shockingly, again, who is being shocked by this? I don't know. Approximately 22% of student loans in the repayment phase are more than 90 days delinquent or in default. All of this is consistent with recent studies showing that millennials are doing worse than their baby boomer parents did at the same stage of life. It's not an illusion, guys. And remember, you're not millennials, okay? You are the generation after that. It's more Generation Z. So this is talking about the demographic of people who've already gone to college. They're already in the workforce. They're already working for 10 years after they graduated. So 31, 32, 33, 34 years old, and still doing worse than the generation before, like their parents' and grandparents' generations. So that's this standard. It's not necessarily where you will be at, but this is the only indicator that we have because, you have to look longitudinally. You can't just look at 2 years. You have to look at like 10 and 15 years to make real solid comparisons. This is the too often ignored story of college life. How can parents help their children reach a happier fate? Here are a few suggestions. Oh, good. They're going to actually try to give us some information. I thought this was just going to be doom and gloom. And then I was going to talk about how we're going to shut this down and, go home. Start early. Long before high school, have serious discussions with your children about college costs and financing. So this is not for you. This is something you want to talk to your parents about. But they really talk about how this should be an essential part of the conversation. How much is this stuff going to cost? How much does this one school cost? I read an article, which I will be putting up in the resource section. It will give you the top 100 emerging, growing application rates for colleges. So it'll show you all of the different colleges that are getting more applications than the year before, sometimes up to like 300 and some percent more than the year before. There's a really interesting trend in that college list. Of those 100 universities and colleges, they all have very low tuition. Like one of them I saw was $12,000 a year. That's amazing. There was one that was less than $10,000 a year. I mean, there's really cheap schools out there. I mean, even like $20,000, $21,000 a year colleges, like I think Purdue, is really reasonable compared to, say, a $35,000 a year or $39,000 a year tuition at a lot of these higher entry colleges, like, you know, some of the top 100, the top 42, the Ivy Leagues. Like they can be upwards past $40,000 a year. So you're talking like less than half the cost. So that needs to factor in. You want to establish realistic goals. The junior year of high school, hey, may be too late to have these conversations, but it's not. It's never too late to have the conversation about what schools make fiscal sense to try to get into. You could be a junior, you could be a senior. Doesn't matter. If you're looking at where you're going to apply, cost is a factor. Yes, the other things, you know, like savings and like, you know, working and structuring that out on your parents' end, that should be before that, but I can't solve your parents' problems. Encourage action, downplay prestige. So this is time telling parents to downplay the prestige of colleges. Now, if you go on to our Facebook page, I just posted an article that talks about exactly this. It's time to stop pushing college or high school students to get into the best colleges and to really just figure out what makes the most sense, what's a good fit for them. So you can go on to that. That's on Facebook at College Success Coaching. That's the Facebook page. Pretty simple. You might know the names from somewhere. I don't know where, but it does talk about this exact thing. I encourage you to look at that article as well. It really plays into this. But what this says is insist on colleges that you and your student can afford. There is some evidence that students who graduate from more selective colleges earn higher salaries, although the data are far from clear. Another article. So earlier today, I read an article where it used data in the plural form correctly, grammatically. It's music to my ears. I love it. One of those people, I'm not a grammar Nazi, but after living with an English major who became a grad school person in English and then married a doctor in English, I started to get rubbed off on me a little bit. So, you know, I twitch a little bit sometimes when people say things incorrectly. And data is one of those big deal things for me because I was in the psychology world and I'm in the behavioral world. The sciences are really near and dear to me. And data is something that I talk about all the time. And data are things that I talk about all the time. So they're saying the data are far from clear that more selective schools are going to get you higher salaries. I'm going to Kermit the Frog this for a second. Let that sink in. The effect of college prestige is dwarfed by the impact of major, again, career choice. The state school engineering graduate will almost always command a substantially higher starting salary than that of a private college psychology major. Oh, arrows, like 300 arrows everywhere in my heart. But it's true. I mean, your major matters. I've talked about this before. I will discuss this again as we go through in November and discuss like how important it is to really be clear on what you want to do with your career and how you fit your salary into that and factor that into what it is that your goals are in life. If psychology is your passion, I'm not saying don't go for psychology, go for chemical engineering. But what I am saying is that be realistic about what your salary is going to be as it relates to how much you're going to spend on the degree to get it. That's all. I mean, you may really like the new Tesla, but if you can't afford it, it doesn't matter if you love it. You just have to be realistic. Get the cheaper one. They're also really good and they work really well and they still have those cool doors. Stay local. Over the past 40 years, in-state public college costs have varied between 38% and 45% of the price of private colleges. So less than half the cost of private schools. To further save on costs, students may choose to start at the local community college and transfer to the state university. No matter how you do it, there is no better bargain for a traditional college education than your state university system. So what this is kind of saying is something that I go back and forth on. So this is individual, and I am not giving the advice that you should not get into the best school possible. If it's a great fit for you, the prestige does matter, the network would be incredible, the Greek life suits your needs, and you're going to get a lot out of it. I am not suggesting that you say, no to that, I'm going to go to the local community college instead. Not at all. Do not take that as what I'm saying. What I'm saying is kind of what they're talking about, although they're really adamant about it, which I'm not sure why, because, and I'm going to get into this again. These articles are very black and white, cut and dry, and they are a bit sensational about what they're saying. So they have to have a hardline opinion because, they have no skin in the game. If they give terrible advice for you individually, they don't care, because in general, what they're saying is going to resonate with more readers. So they're going to get more clicks. And then people are going to talk about them as, well, they have the authority. And did you hear what they said? You shouldn't even be applying to an Ivy League school. I'm not like that, because I want to be real and I want to be authentic with you. Sometimes getting into the Ivy League school is totally the move. And even if it's going to be more expensive, make it work. Okay. But a lot of the time, the majority of the time, I would say, yeah, it doesn't matter. And it matters more where you graduate from, not where you started at. So in the 4 years, let's say you did 2 years at community college for a quarter of the price at the state school, not even the private school, the state school. But your state school happens to be great, like Penn State, like Ohio State, Michigan State. Let's say there's some great state schools out there. So let's say you go to the state school after that, again, for half the cost or 46% of the cost of the private schools in your area. You come out of school really paying about 35%-ish what you could have paid with the rubber stamp of a great undergrad under your belt. Now, that could lead you to a private institution for graduate school. That could be great. It could get you into a great job because, you got a 3.8 because you listened to Eric and you were with me until you graduated college. So we went through all the steps. You got the good internships. You made the right moves. You made the right connections. You stayed healthy. You never got out of the game. And you're a monster. You're killing it. It didn't matter that you spent 2 years at the community college, saved money, learned how to be an adult-ish, not too much. And then you got into the state school, did all the great things. You maybe rushed at the school. If you went to a private school and they had Greek life or something, so you rushed as a junior, which that's great. You have no idea. People want the free agent as a sophomore and a junior. It's so much easier, but we can get into Greek life another time. But let's say you did that. Nobody's going to care where you started. You just have no debt from your first couple of years because your parents could work it out with you where you were paying as you go. And now it's essentially like half off. So it's a really good thing. It's a good deal if that's a route that you want to go and it's a route that makes sense for you to go. Again, individually, totally isn't always the move. And if you want to set up a one-to-one, we can talk about that. I do recommend getting a local college coach that can sit down with you and talk to you about the whole package of colleges and what they require and everything. Naviance is great, but it's not everything. And you really do need to have the expertise of somebody who this is all they do is get kids into school. That's not even me, that's what I do is more of this broad thing. We build this community. I help you with your motivation and the how to get where you want to get. These people really are the data source for how you get into these schools and how you figure out what they are. And they sort through 3,000 schools essentially in like 4 hours for you, which is that's totally worth any weight in gold. So, all right, let's keep going with the article. Create goals. Make an agreement with your child, that graduating debt-free or with minimal debt is an important goal. So like putting it on the priority list. I've seen this. When I was the head of a company that all we did was send people to prestigious colleges. What I found was it was the student that was always saying, well, I have to go to Cornell. I have to go to Princeton. I have to go to an Ivy League. I have to get into Harvard. So, they were pushing and pushing. And the parent was like, well, but you don't even know what you want to go for. So I'm not sure why you wanted to get into school. Because it's Harvard. But is that really what's going to help you? I don't know. Maybe it's time to start thinking about, cost, because it's going to be your cost. If your parents aren't willing to pay the extra money and they don't have it and you have to take a student loan out, remember, you are saddling yourself in the future. Future you is going to be pretty mad at you from the past for making this choice if it doesn't really pan out well for you. So making it a goal, not the goal, a goal is something that is really important. So the average American graduate from college has between $22,000 and over $100,000 in student loan debt. And that really just has to do with which schools they're going to. Again, there's a list of 100 schools that have a very reasonable educational cost. And there are many that don't. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to go broke going to a great school, but you do have to put in some serious time, thought, and effort, which, hopefully you are anyway. I mean, why are you here? You're talking here and you're going to ask me questions about this because you do care. And that's a great thing. And that's why you're going to do what you're doing. So that's what I'd like you to just think about this week when you're trying to think about what colleges you'd like to go to. It is more about the major in terms of money rather than the school. So make sure that the school is one that makes sense, not just the best one that you can put on paper later. And that is the article of the week. Did you like that video? Did you find it interesting? Do you want to find out more about how to get more out of life? That's a lot of mores, and we can do even more than that. So if you would like to check out our website, www.collegesuccesscoaching.com, you can see what it's all about. I answer live questions every week. I have videos with experts in all kinds of fields that can help you to learn more about what they do and what you could be doing. And even more, we have resources on the website. It's a blast. So go ahead, check out the website. It's risk-free. 2 weeks on me. You're welcome. And otherwise, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can get all these article reviews, as well as every once in a while, I'll do a live Periscope where I'll answer any questions anybody sends me throughout that time. So keep on keeping on. We'll see you soon.